Beneath the shifting dunes of southern Iraq lies a secret older than the pyramids, older than Babylon, older than any city you've ever heard of. Before there were empires, before there were kings, before humanity even understood what a city was, there was Eridu, and what archaeologists discovered here rewrites everything we thought we knew about the birth of civilization. The year is 1946. British archaeologist Fuad Safar drives across the barren Iraqi desert, following ancient rumors and fragmentary maps. What he's searching for shouldn't exist, not here, not this far back in time. When his team begins excavating the Tell, a massive artificial mound rising from the desert floor, they expect to find the usual remnants of ancient Mesopotamia, perhaps some pottery, maybe the foundation of a modest settlement. What they uncover, instead, defies explanation. Layer after layer of human occupation, temple built upon temple, stretching back not centuries, but millennia. And beneath it all, a network so sophisticated, so impossibly advanced for its time, that it challenges our entire understanding of human development. Over 4,000 canals. An irrigation system that would make modern engineers pause in admiration. Channels carved with mathematical precision, distributing water across tens of thousands of acres of farmland. But here's what makes your spine tingle. This wasn't built in the age of Rome or even ancient Egypt. This was constructed 7,000 years ago. Welcome to Eridu, the first city on Earth. The Sumerians, who came thousands of years after Eridu's founding, called it the city of the first kings, but they believed something even more extraordinary. In their oldest myths, stories carved into clay tablets that survived the collapse of their entire civilization, Eridu wasn't just the first human city. It was where creation itself began. According to Sumerian legend, when the gods decided to create order from chaos, they built Eridu first. Here, the god Enki rose from the primordial waters of the Abzu, the cosmic ocean beneath the earth, and taught humanity the arts of civilization, architecture, agriculture, writing, law. The myths say Enki gave humans everything they needed to rise above the animal kingdom. And here's the haunting part. The archaeological evidence suggests these weren't entirely myths. At the heart of Eridu's ruins stands a temple. Not just any temple, the first temple complex ever constructed. 18 distinct building phases, each one built directly atop the last, creating a vertical timeline of human religious thought, stretching back to 5400 BCE. The deepest layer is the most profound. A simple reed structure, barely more than a hut. But even here, 7,500 years ago, early humans were creating sacred space, trying to touch something beyond themselves. By the time you reach the upper layers, that humble shrine has evolved into a massive ziggurat, a mountain of brick rising toward the heavens, decorated with precious metals and stones brought from hundreds of miles away. You're witnessing the birth of human ambition, frozen in mud, brick, and time. Between 5400 and 600 BCE, Eridu wasn't just a city, it was the city, the religious and economic heart of southern Mesopotamia. Imagine standing at its gates during its peak. The smell of bread baking in clay ovens, the sound of copper being hammered in workshops, boats from distant lands docking at the canal harbors, their hulls heavy with timber, stone, and exotic goods. Those 4,000 canals? They were more than irrigation channels. They were the arteries of civilization itself. The system was so sophisticated that it maintained optimal water flow across seasons. Silt gates prevented channels from clogging. Secondary channels redistributed water during droughts. reservoir pools stored surplus for planting season. The engineers of Eridu understood hydrology in ways that wouldn't be replicated for thousands of years. And the results were staggering. Fields of barley stretching to the horizon, gardens bursting with dates, figs, and pomegranates, livestock so abundant that Eridu became the trading center for the entire region. This agricultural surplus created something unprecedented in human history: free time. For the first time, not everyone needed to farm. Some people could specialize, become craftsmen, artists, priests, administrators, traders. The division of labor, that fundamental pillar of every complex society, was born here, in these fields watered by ancient canals. But Eridu's true power wasn't economic, it was spiritual. Pilgrims traveled for weeks to worship at Enki's temple. Kings from distant cities sought blessing from Eridu's priests before going to war. When Sumerian civilization exploded across Mesopotamia centuries later, every city-state traced its legitimacy back to this place. Eridu wasn't just the first city, it was the mother city, the template from which all others were copied. But to truly understand Eridu's significance, we need to pull back, way back. 66 million years ago, an asteroid slams into Earth, ending the age of dinosaurs. In the aftermath, small mammals emerge from their burrows into a changed world. Millions of years pass. These mammals evolve, diversify. Some take to the trees, their bodies adapt. Grasping hands, forward-facing eyes, larger brains capable of complex problem-solving. 30 million years ago, the first primates appear. 20 million years later, early hominids walk upright on the African savanna. 2.5 million years ago, our direct ancestors begin making tools. Simple stone flakes at first, then hand axes, spear points. Each innovation builds on the last, passed down through generations. 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens emerges. Anatomically modern humans with the same cognitive capacity you and I possess. But for the next 290,000 years, we remain nomadic, hunters and gatherers moving with the seasons, living in small bands, leaving barely a trace. And then, around 10,000 BCE, something shifts. The last ice age ends. The climate stabilizes. And in a handful of locations around the world, humans make a revolutionary choice. They stop wandering. They settle down. They plant seeds. They domesticate animals. They build permanent structures. By 5400 BCE, one of these settlements has become something unprecedented. Something that would have been unimaginable to our hunter-gatherer ancestors just 5,000 years earlier. Eridu, a city of thousands, a place where strangers lived side by side, cooperating in ways that required new forms of organization, new hierarchies, new methods of resolving conflict. The entire journey of life on Earth, from the first single-celled organisms to the extinction of the dinosaurs to the evolution of primates, had led to this moment, the birth of urban civilization. But every beginning contains the seeds of its ending. Around 600 BCE, after nearly 5,000 years of continuous habitation, Eridu begins to die. The Euphrates River, that life-giving artery that had sustained the city since its founding, shifts its course. Geological forces beyond human control redirect the water miles to the east. The elaborate canal system, maintained for millennia, runs dry. Fields turn to dust. Palm groves wither. The people face an impossible choice: abandon the holiest site in their world or stay and starve. They choose survival. One by one, families pack their belongings and leave. The priests perform final rituals in Enki's temple. The doors are sealed. Within a generation, Eridu is empty. The desert begins its patient work of reclamation. Sand fills the streets. Wind erodes the walls. Silence settles over the ruins like a shroud. For over 2,000 years, Eridu lies forgotten, buried beneath shifting dunes. The birthplace of civilization lost to human memory. The Greeks never knew it existed. The Romans never heard its name. Medieval scholars had no idea that humanity's first city lay beneath the Iraqi desert, waiting. Today, if you visit the ruins of Eridu, you'll find little to impress you at first glance. Eroded mud brick walls, partially excavated canals, a landscape that seems empty, dead. But close your eyes, feel the wind, and imagine, 7,000 years ago, a group of humans made an impossible decision. They chose to stay in one place, to transform a wild landscape into something that could sustain them, to build not just shelters, but monuments, not just homes, but a home. They invented urban planning, religious architecture, hydraulic engineering, and agricultural science. All at once, all from scratch, with no blueprint to follow. They created the template for every city that would follow. Babylon, Athens, Rome, London, New York. Every city you've ever walked through. Every urban skyline you've ever admired. Every complex society you've ever been part of. It all traces back to this windswept corner of southern Iraq. The story of Eridu is the story of us, of human ambition and ingenuity, of our eternal desire to build something that will outlast our brief lives, of our need to create meaning in a vast and indifferent universe. We are all children of that first city, heirs to a revolution that began when our ancestors looked at a marsh by a river and saw not just water and reeds, but possibility. The first city is gone, but its legacy lives in every city on Earth, and that legacy is eternal.